Hello and welcome to part 7 of modeling an acoustic guitar in Fusion. In this segment we're going to model the sides, and then we're going to assemble the sides and the top and the bottom into a body, so stay tuned. Okay, let's build us some sides. First thing we're going to do, and you should be used to this by now, is we're going to bring in, we're going to derive our acoustic guitar parameters, and we're going to derive our top and bottom parameters. And then I'm going to bring in as the components the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to turn on the top, and I'm going to go in and turn off the bodies, turn on the sketches, and get this outline at the top. And then I'm going to create a couple of offset planes. First I'm going to put one on the heel end, offset from this plane on the back, to object, and the object I'm going to select is this point off the center line at the heel end of the guitar. Then I'm going to create a second one on the opposite end, to object again, and the object is this point at the other end, at the tail end of the guitar on that center line. Then I'm going to draw a couple of sketches that are going to help me to get the top and the bottom aligned. So let's turn off this and turn on our sketches here. And these are those two sketches. First one is at the tail of the guitar, and we're going to turn on again the top. What we're going to do is we're going to create, in the first sketch, we're going to be on the tail end, and we're going to project in this point at the end of the guitar. Okay. Again, that's off the sketch, I believe, not off the body. So let's turn on those sketches again. So it's that point, the same one that we used for our offset plane. And when we have that, we're going to then use that point. We're going to draw a horizontal, with a horizontal constraint, construction line, and we're going to make it midpoint to that dot, to that point from the top sketch. Then we're going to draw a vertical with a vertical constraint line, construction line, and we're going to dimension that to 4.75 inches, or actually to our parameter for body height at tail. I'm going to make that perpendicular to that construction line at the top. Then we're going to make another construction line at the bottom and make it midpoint. The length of these two construction lines is irrelevant. They could be shorter, longer. I'm not sure what I got going on there. Some kind of line there I don't need. It's really just there to give us a visual idea of whether or not our guitar is lined up. The center one we need these 2 points to make sure that the top and the bottom are oriented at the right angle. So once we're finished with that sketch, we're going to do the heel end of the guitar, and the heel end of the guitar is at body height at heel. Otherwise the sketch is the same. Again, we're going to project in that point off the guitar. On the heel end, we're going to project in this point. And once we have that, we can turn off our top. And the same thing, we're going to draw two horizontal lines. We're going to draw a horizontal line and make it midpoint to the top. And we're going to draw a vertical line, and we're going to dimension that to body height at heel. And then the bottom line we're going to make, it should be midpoint, but it's not, so let's just make it midpoint. Get that fixed, make it midpoint to there, and make it perpendicular with a horizontal constraint, and then draw in our bottom construction line and make it midpoint and make it well, it's perpendicular, it doesn't need the horizontal. Okay, we got those two sketches. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our top and our bottom. And you see that bottom, when it came in, it's wonky. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a move. We're going to make sure that move object is set to components. We're going to select the dreadnought bottom. I just yank that down here out of the way, and if we look at this, we can see that, for one, it's upside down, right? You can see that our binding is pointing down, and we need it to be pointing up. And the heel end is opposite of this, but that'll fix itself when we fix the other one. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this and rotate it 180 degrees. Right, oops. Okay, right there, 180 degrees. Now that fixed the heel end, so now the heels are matched up and it's the right direction. Then we're going to go over here and change this to point, and we're going to grab, it doesn't matter which end you use, you're going to grab this point. If you look right here, there's a vertical line right there, and we're going to grab that point at the bottom. Make sure you get the bottom one. We want this thing lined up with this line is our height from the outside bottom to the outside top. So we want to take that bottom point and line it up to that point right there and say okay. And now if we look at this, we can see that our bottom is at the right angle because we modeled it that way. And we just did a point to point, and we can tell using these lines that we had here, let's drag that one out a little bit further, that we are lined up at the right height. We're lined up center to center. Same on the other side. We're lined up on that construction line, and so our top and our bottom are perfectly aligned. And now we'll be able to create a sides by doing an extrude from the top down through the bottom. So now that I've got these here, I'm going to do an as-built joint. I'm going to select my top and my bottom, my dreadnought top. Let's clear this. We're going to go and do top and bottom, and it's going to be rigid, and we're going to say okay, and that's going to lock them into place so they won't move on us. Now when you do that rigid, it does this capture position. Not sure why it needed to do that, but apparently it needed to do that in order to get that rigid. But now we know this won't move on us, so that's what we were looking for. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off our body on our top. We'll go ahead and turn off our bottom for the moment, and we're going to turn on our sketch, and we're going to use this outline to do an extrude. The extrude is a two-sided. Let's pull these up. Let's go ahead and put our bodies back on because we want to be able to see that we are extruding it enough. So we've selected that profile, that shape of the top, and we've set it to two sides. And on the first side, we're going to grab this and drag it up until it comes through the top. Then we're going to down and grab the second side, and we're going to drag it down until it's through the bottom. Doesn't matter how far through you go, as long as you're all the way through. And that'll create a side for us now that's perfectly straight up and down all the way through, and is perfectly aligned with the top and the bottom. Okay. Click OK. Then we're going to do a thicken. We're going to go in and turn off our sketch, and we're going to go into our bodies. We're going to turn on the top body, the surface body that we had before. We're going to turn on the purfling and the binding. We want those surfaces. We can go ahead and turn off all the solids to get them out of our way so we're not looking at them. And I'm going to turn off the body up here for a minute. Now that I got those, okay, I'm going to do a thicken on that. I'm going to, let's see. Sorry, apparently I did the bottom one first. Is that right? No. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the second thicken. Doesn't matter which one you do first. I'm going to open this up, and you can see we have 3 bodies selected. And those 3 bodies, boy, it just really wants to turn that on, doesn't it? I'm going to turn these on so we can see them. We're going to select those 3 bodies, the inside, the binding, and the purfling. And we're going to offset that by minus thickness. We want to get that to be, this surface is on the inside of the guitar, on the inside surface of that top. We need to move it down the distance, half the distance of the purfling. I mean, sorry, not the purfling, the binding, so that it's at the bottom of the binding, because we want our sides to come to the top of that binding. We don't want it to go down to the body, down to the surface of the top. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm making much sense, but hopefully that made sense. Okay? So, boy, I just will not keep those turned off. So let's go up to our bodies here. We'll turn this on. We'll turn that off, and we can see that now we have this. And because I still have these up here, you can see that it's down below there. And then we're going to thicken the bottom as well. On the bottom, we're going to go to our dreadnought, and we're going to go to our bodies, and we are going to turn off these, and we're going to just turn on this one called binding top. Not a very good name. We're going to do our thicken, and there we go. Now it's got it in the right place. And we're going to bring that up to same, minus thickness, to get it up to the top of that binding. Hope that all makes sense. So now what we've got up here is, let's go ahead and undo some of this stuff real quick. I'm going to turn back on all of my stuff. Okay. And then I'm going to turn off my dreadnought top. And I'm going to go fix my bottom, turn all that back on, and then turn off the bottom. And those are my 2 surfaces now that I just created. Okay. So now I'm going to use those as cutting tools to cut the body. So let's turn on the body. And let's do a split body. I have to do these one at a time. It doesn't seem to like doing them. Grabbing them both and cutting at the same time, it gave me trouble, so I did them 2 separate. Your body to split, of course, is the sides, and the splitting tool is that top. Okay, and then you see that we got 2 bodies now. We got this bottom section and we got this top section. Then we're going to split the bottom. Same thing. Body to split is the side, the lower one, not the top one. Make sure you grab the right one. Splitting tool is the bottom. Stay okay. And then we're going to grab this and this and this and this and hit the delete key and make those go away. And there we have our basic outline, our basic side. Now we need to thicken that to create a solid body. So we're going to select that body, and we're going to say thicken it. And I did my side as 0.1 inch. I should have probably made that a parameter so that I could make it variable, but I'm going to do a new body, and we're going to say OK. And now we have a solid body. I preset my appearance and my materials, so you can see it's a piece of maple. And then I'm going to turn this back on. I don't need this outside body anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those. I'm going to back up and do that. So I'm going to select that. What I want to do is turn off my solid body. So I select the right thing. I want to select that, and hit the delete key, and they'll go away. And now all I have is my solid body. So now the only thing left to do is on the heel end, we're going to cut in our slot for our tenon where the neck joins, and we're going to put in our wedge on the tail end. So we'll start with the wedge, and our drawing here, I have projected in this top edge of the guitar right here, this line, and on the bottom I projected in this line and this line. Okay, and then what I've done is I have drawn a line at the slot, and I want it coincident with that line I projected on the bottom. And we're not going to worry about angle right now. Just make sure it doesn't apply any of its own constraints. You want to just lay in a line and make it coincident with the top up here. And then you're going to do the same on the other side. Make it up here. And then we're going to draw in from that point right there that will have been projected in when you projected in those lines. We're going to put a center line down the middle, a construction line. It's hard to see with that body turned on. Let me turn it off so you can see that it's a construction line. Okay. Then I want to draw two more short lines, and the reason for that is that when we use this to cut through the guitar body, because the radius is there, it tends to leave a little bit of residual material. So we're going to extend this up above so that when we do our cut through, it cuts. The bottom doesn't do that, so I've just left it on that bottom edge. Okay, and then we're going to put a construction line from this point to this point, and we need that to put these constraints on. So because we don't want to put a dimension on this top line because it's not really our top, so we're going to dimension this line to the center at 0.625 or whatever the width you want for your wedge, and the same on the other side. And what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that these are centered. I can't do a midpoint here or anything like that, so by dimensioning them separately, I make sure that these are equidistant from the center line. And then this top line, I made it horizontal, but it doesn't really matter as long as it extends up through. And I just put a dimension on here of 1/8 of an inch above. Again, that's arbitrary. You just want to make sure it's above. I just wanted it to be fully constrained, so I put a constraint on it. On the bottom, we only need to dimension one side to 1/4 inch from the center. And again, whatever width you want for the bottom of your wedge is what you'll put in there. And then I drew a line across the bottom and made it parallel. Okay, that's everything I needed to do in order to make this so that it was a body. Oh, and then off of that center line, I'm going to put a circle in here. This is going to be the hole for the button on the tail end, and I made that 0.20 inches. And I made it I made it coincident to the center line, and then I made it midpoint to the center line. Okay, I believe that's everything on there. And then we finish sketch, and then I'm going to do an extrude. Oops, I didn't get out of that sketch. Okay, so our extrude, we're just going to, our drawing we just did, we're going to do it two-sided to make sure we get cut through everything. Okay, not cut, but we're creating a solid body. We're not cutting it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a combine, and we're going to make it an intersect, and we're going to select our target body is this shape that we created, this body that we created, and our cutting tool is going to be the sides. And click OK. And now we got this body inside this body. If we turn off this one, you can see that one. And if we turn off this one, you can see that one. So now what we're going to use, we're going to use this to cut out that part of the sides. So with that, we're going to do a split body. And we're going to body to split is this guitar side, and splitting tool is that wedge that we created. And we're going to say OK. And now we've got, there's actually 3 bodies here, okay? If you turn off this one, you can see that, but this is a separate body now, so we're going to turn that off, whichever one it is that one, and we're going to turn on our wedge. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Now we need to go put our, on the other end, we need to put in our cutout for the tenon on the neck. So we're going to draw this sketch. Now this sketch needs to go from the top of the top, not from the top of the side, in order to get the dimensions right. So we want to bring in our top. We're going to just turn on our top. Let's close up our bottom. And we want to project in, here we need to turn off some bodies. Let's turn off these bodies. Let's even turn off the sketch so we can see. What we want to do is we want to project in this line right here and this line right here. Okay? That'll give us a point at the top and a point at the bottom. We really just need the point at the top, I guess. Let's bring back in our sketch. So we're going to, that's what these two that we've projected in, this line and this line. It's hard to see it. Here, I'm going to delete these 2 lines so we can see. Delete those. Okay, and delete the top line, and you can see that that's what's projected in. So then we're going to put a line across the top from here to here. Then we're going to do 2 lines down from there, straight down. We're going to dimension one of them. The one on the right is one I dimensioned. We're going to dimension that to our tenon height minus the tenon radius, because tenon height includes the radius at the bottom. So we need to subtract that out of the length of the line. Okay. We're going to make that horizontal. And we don't need to dimension this side. It'll fix itself when we, here, I'm going to delete out my radius. And this one can be, it can be longer, shorter, it doesn't matter. We don't need to dimension it, because when we put in, we're going to put in a 3-point arc. We're going to select this point and this point, and then we're going to, this side, it already put on the tangency, but we're going to put on a tangency on this side from here to here, and it automatically sets that to the right length and fully constrains the sketch. And that's all there is to that. Once we have that, we can now turn off our top. Oops, that sketch is turn off our top. Turn on our body. And we're just going to do an extrude cut to cut that in. Again, on this one I do a 2-sided just to make sure I cut through both sides. It doesn't leave any little remnants that I don't want. It doesn't hurt, so I do it. So just cut through both sides, drag it through, whatever. It doesn't matter how far you drag it through as long as you're all the way through. Okay, and when that's done, we turn off our sketches and we have our completed sides. And that's all there is to that. Next up, let's assemble this into a body. So I have my sides here now, and in fact in this same model I've got my top and my bottom, and they're already assembled into the body. So you might wonder, why do I need to create another model for the body? You don't need to. I mean, if it's all the same to you, you could simply use this one as your body and go on. But for me, I wanted a separate model or a separate assembly for my sides, for just to keep them separate. The top and the bottom are in this model, but I wanted my sides to be able to be just an independent entity. So that said, I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to go to my body, and this is going to be very short. It's simply reassembling this the same way we did for the sides. So if we back up our timeline, again, it's the same things. We're going to derive our parameters, both of them. We're going to bring in our top component. We're going to bring in our bottom component. We're going to bring in our sides, and then we're going to assemble them. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything to the right here. So you can see that the sides are already where they need to be on the top. We don't need to do anything. So I'm simply going to do a move. There seems to be a bug in Fusion over the last few weeks. Every now and then when I open a model, I get this twirling cursor thing that just doesn't go away. I'm going to ignore it for right now. Usually I have to close the model and reopen it to get rid of this thing. Don't know what it's doing. Anyway, move copy, make sure I'm on components, select my bottom, select free move, and I'm going to drag that down just like I did before. Same routine. I'm going to flip it over 180 degrees. There it is. And then I'm going to go to my sides. Remember, in our sides we had those two sketches that we made, right? The front and the back. So we're just going to grab those, turn them on, and we're going to do the same move. We're going to take a point to point. We're going to grab that point at the bottom of the bottom on that center point at the bottom of the bottom, and we're going to select that, and we're going to select that point right there, if we can, right there, and say okay, and it's assembled. The only thing I want to do now is put a couple of rigids on this. I'm going to turn off those sketches, and I'm going to put a couple of as-built joints. I'm going to select the top and the sides, and say okay, and then I'm going to put a second one on. I'm going to as-built joint. I'm going to select the bottom this time and the sides, and say okay. And so that's all locked together now, and it won't try to move on me. I can't grab that top and drag it off into space. And that's it. That's our body. So next video we'll be making the tail block and the heel block, and getting ready for our assembly. Things left to do, we're going to, well, like I said, just tail block and heel block, and then we're going to model the kerfed lining, and we'll get started on our bracing, the top and bottom bracing, and the side bracing. So that's it for this one. Okay, we have our body done, and now we just have a few more things to do before we assemble this into a guitar. Appreciate you watching. As usual, if you're enjoying this, like and subscribe, and we'll see you down the road.